Hello, this is Dr. Oviedo. In today's video, we are going to review the anatomy of the placenta and fetus in the uterus. We are also going to review the histology of the normal placenta. Here is a drawing to show you where the placenta is located in a mother's uterus. Here the uterus is drawn in gray. The uterus contains the placenta and fetus during pregnancy. This part of the uterus down here is called the cervix. Here is the placenta drawn in pink. The placenta is tightly attached to the uterus during pregnancy. This is the umbilical cord which connects the placenta to the fetus. And here, of course, is the fetus. Fetus is the medical word we use when the baby is still growing inside the uterus. When it's time for delivery, the baby will pass through the cervix. Then, the placenta will detach from the uterus and will also pass through the cervix. Now, let's see what a real placenta looks like. Here's what the placenta looks like after it has been delivered. This is the fetal surface of the placenta. If you were a fetus still inside the uterus and you could see in there, this is what you would see when you looked at the placenta. Here's the umbilical cord. These blood vessels here are fetal blood vessels that have branched from the umbilical cord. Here is what the maternal surface of the placenta looks like. This is the part that was tightly attached to the uterus during pregnancy. Now, of course, it has separated, and this is what the maternal surface looks like. There are maternal blood vessels that enter the placenta, but they are too small to be seen in this photograph. Now, let's look at slices of the placenta so that we can see inside. Looking at the fetal surface of the placenta, we are going to slice the placenta like this, in the direction of these lines. Here you can see the placenta has been cut into pieces and we are looking at the inside of the placenta. Now here is the fetal surface and here is the maternal surface. This tissue outlined in yellow and in between the fetal surface and maternal surface is what we call parenchyma. Parenchyma is a general word in histology that we use to mean the functional tissue in an organ. In the placenta, the parenchyma is where the placental villi are located. The placental villi are where the oxygen and nutrient exchange take place. Now, this rectangle here is where we took a piece of the placenta so that we could examine it under the microscope. Before we do that, I want to review a drawing of this rectangular piece of placenta. Let's go from top to bottom. This is a simplified drawing to review the vocabulary before we review the actual slide in more detail. Here is the amnion, which covers the fetal surface of the placenta. Here is the chorion, which is where the fetal blood vessels branch out after leaving the umbilical cord. Chorionic plate is the term we use to describe the amnion and chorion together. Here are two chorionic plate blood vessels. The chorionic plate blood vessels branch extensively and enter the placental villi in the parenchyma. Here is the parenchyma, which contains the placental villi. Here are the placental villi. The placental villi appear as separate dots. This is because the chorionic plate blood vessels branch so extensively that the placental villi appear as separate dots in a thin slice. In life, the placental villi are connected to the chorionic plate blood vessels. You'll see more about this later in the video. Here is the decidua, which corresponds to the maternal surface in the pictures of the placenta. Here are maternal decidual blood vessels, which is how maternal blood enters the placenta. Now, let's take a look at the digital slide of the placenta. Here is a low-power view of the rectangle of tissue we took from the placenta. Briefly, let's review the parts we saw on the drawing. Up here is the amnion, below that is the chorion, this large part in the middle is the parenchyma, and down here is the decidua. Okay, let's take a closer look at the chorionic plate. This is the amnion, which I am going over with my little hand. Let's look at it at higher power. The amnion is composed of an epithelium and its underlying stroma. The amniotic epithelium is right here, which I am going over with my little hand, and underneath which I'm also going over with my little hand, is the stroma. The amniotic epithelium lines the fetal surface of the placenta. Remember from introductory histology that the word epithelium generally describes cells that form a sheet-like structure. Stroma is a word that we use to describe supportive tissues. The amniotic epithelium covers the fetal surface of the placenta. Here, these dark round structures are nuclei. I am outlining one nucleus with my little pen. And now I am outlining one amniotic cell with my little pen. Now, let's look at the chorion. I am going over the chorion with my little hand. The chorion is composed of stromal tissue and contains the fetal blood vessels. You can see here on the right there is a fetal blood vessel. This up here is an artifactual cleft that separates the amnion from the chorion. In life, these two layers would be right next to each other and you would not see this space. The amnion and chorion together are referred to as the chorionic plate. The fetal blood vessels, you can see, are still fairly large as they branch in the chorionic plate. After branching in the chorionic plate, the fetal blood vessels continue branching as they enter the placental villi down here. Now, let's look into the parenchyma to look at the placental villi at high power. This structure in the center is one villus. I am outlining it with my little pen. Here on the outside is the trophoblast layer, which I am going over with my little hand. Here are the fetal blood vessels, which I am showing you with my little hand. You can see they are very thin-walled, and we now call them capillaries. I am outlining one capillary with my little pen, and now I am outlining another capillary with my little pen. All this tissue other than the capillaries is called villus stroma. Out here is the maternal blood space. Oxygen and nutrients cross from the maternal blood space into the fetal circulation in this direction. Carbon dioxide and waste products cross from the fetal circulation into the maternal circulation in this direction. Okay, now that we have examined the fetal surface and placental villi, we will examine the maternal surface. These cells I am going over with my little hand are decidual cells. The decidual cells have abundant cytoplasm with centrally placed nuclei. Here I am outlining one nucleus. Now I am outlining one decidual cell. The maternal surface is composed of decidua along with maternal decidual arteries and maternal decidual veins. Decidua is a word that we use to describe the lining of the uterus during pregnancy. The maternal blood enters the placenta through the maternal decidual arteries and leaves the placenta through maternal decidual veins. Here you can see there is one maternal decidual artery here, which I am outlining with my little hand, and up here is a maternal decidual vein, which I am outlining with my little hand. Okay, now we've finished looking at the histology of the normal placenta. After reviewing this video, you should understand the anatomy of the placenta and fetus in the uterus. You should also understand histology of the normal placenta. Okay, good luck with your studies of the placenta.